Most of you.
Okay, good night, everyone. As we welcome in Saba, and we welcome in Marshall, and we welcome in Irving Fishbaum back from the hospital. We continue to learn for Issa Ben Razel. You should have a complete refuah. And we welcome in Aaron Swade, Mel Zachter, A.B. Spry, Michal, Dr. Black, Shimon Klein, Shelley Zeitlin, Mo Kushner, Dr. Guy, Mark Frankel here on time. Ilya Shutman, Avram Schenkman. We welcome
Shlomo Tzvi
Zinger. David Helfgott is joining us. And we just getting Richard Rosenzweig. Okay. Richard Rosenzweig here on Zoom. Look at this. He's making an appearance in the flesh. Unbelievable. That is the Richard Rosenzweig. Take a picture, everybody, before he disappears. And Harrison Kletzel on Facebook, as we are dedicated by Baruch Eli L'Nishmas Esther Bas Yoni, Yaakov Chaim Ben Abba, Avram Ben Shmuel HaKoyim, Aaron Sveid L'Nishmas Chana Bas Shmuel, and his sister Freda Bas Shaul, by Mark Frankel of Fu Shalem for Chana Bas Gittel Esther, Miriam Sarah Bas Zipporah, by Berik Goldwasser, for Hakar Satayv, what Hashem did for his family and for the Chayla Yisrael, for Yudhishthira Bas Miriam, Avigdor Aryeh Ben Rivka, Meir Ben Chaya Sarah. They should have Refuah Shalema as we welcome in Yisrael Fisher and Ruvain Pollack joining us, and we got Moshe Jacqueline joining us as well. So far we got ourselves so far on this Maye 21 Zoomers. And we are holding, if you remember, we said last time, we're holding on the bottom line of Daf Nun Amud Beis. Bottom line of Daf Nun Amud Beis, we said that anything that cannot happen one after another cannot happen at the same time as well. And now the Gemara is going to bombard this rule. Amar Rabba, kol she'eina b'zeh achazeh, anything that can't be one after another. Afilu b'bas achaseina. So since we said you can't marry one sister after another, so if you do them at the same time, they're also not chal. Eisvei Abaya. So Abaya asks a kasha on this yisoid. Eisvei Abaya. Hamar b'maiser. If somebody gives, let's see, who would do this? Marshall. If Marshall gives too much maiser, he's supposed to give 10%, and he gives 12%. So, peiros of mesukanim, the rest of his fruit are good. But umaisrais mekulkalim, the maiser that he gave to the Levi is messed up, because the maiser has to be a 10th. Since he gave a 12th, so there's tevel mixed into the maiser. We don't know where the tevel is, so the meiser is messed up. So the Gemara says, but why does this work? V'amai, name a kol she'eina b'zeh achazeh. Now, he cannot say, here's meiser, and give meiser again. Can't do that. From the same stuff, you can't give meiser twice. So, kol she'eina b'zeh achazeh, we should say, afilu b'bas achazeh. If he gives extra, more than the meiser, it shouldn't be chal either. Amalei, so the Gemara has a very interesting answer to this question. Amalei shani meiser de isa lechatzoin. What he could do is he could give 20 tenths instead of 10 tenths. Instead of a tenth, he could give a 20th, and say that I'm giving half of every kernel of wheat. So there he's actually giving more than 10, but he's giving half of each kernel. So since he could do it in that method more than a 10th, so that's why if he does instead of 10%, 12%, it's chal. The Amar is Kaddish Palga de Chitasa. If he says, let 20% of half of the wheat be meiser, it works. Says Gemara, okay, but that doesn't work by meiser behema. Meiser behema, as we know, is if you have to give pass the animals through a door in the corral, and every 10th animal is Ma'aseh Behema. Now, you cannot give half of an animal. You can't give a fraction of an animal. And you can't say one animal should be Ma'aseh Behema and then another animal should be Ma'aseh Behema. But yet, if they both come out of the door together, the Karan Asiri, and you call the two of them Asiri, so we say Asiri ve'echad aser muravim zeh b'zeh. We say that the 10th and 11th is mixed up one with the other, and you got to give one as Ma'aseh Behema and one as a Shlamim. Says the Gemara, but why? Why does it work b'bas achas when b'zeh achazeh it doesn't work? Says the Gemara, 2 lines from the beginning of the wide lines. Shani Ma'aseh Behema is different. The Isei B'tois. Okay, 1 second. We got to log in over here. October 2023. Okay, sorry for that break. Says the Gemara, Shani Ma'aseh Behema is different to Isei B'tois. This is a special rule by Ma'aseh Behema that if I call, I made a mistake in my counting. If I call the 9th animal 10, then I call the 10th animal 10, and then I call the 11th animal 10, we learn out from Gzeirus HaKasev that all 3 are Kaddish. I made a mistake in my counting, and I called the 9th one 10. And then Ulasiri Chi, I called the 10th one, even if I called the 10th one 9, but the 10th one is Kaddish because it's the 10th one. And then because I made this mistake and called the 10th one 9, I called the 11th one 10. Shloshton Mikudashin. All 3 are Kaddish. We learned that out from Gzeirus HaKasev. So actually over here the halacha is, it is B'zeh Achazeh. Because if I call the 10th one 10 and I call the 11th one 10, they're both Kaddish. So it is B'zeh Achazeh. Says the Gemara, Hari Toida. Now a Toida, a thanksgiving offering, let's say Mark was thankful about something and he brought a Toida. Together with a Toida, you bring 40 loaves. Hari Toida deleisa b'tois. You cannot bring it by mistake. Because if Mark said, I'm separating 40 loaves of, let's say, wheat flour, well, not wheat flour, dark flour, and he separates light flour, it's not Kaddish. So, by a thanksgiving, there's no mistakes. If he sanctifies 40 challahs, and then he sanctifies another 40 challahs, the second 40 challahs are not sanctified. But we learned toida shenishchuta, a thanksgiving offering that's slaughtered. Al shmoinim challahs, 80 challahs, babas achas, chizki ama kachla arba mitoich shmoinim. 40 of the 80 become kaddish. So here, at least according to Chizkiah, we see that something that's b'zeh achazeh doesn't work, but b'bas achas, 40 of them become kaddish. While Rabbi Yochanan says, like kachla arba mitoich shmoinim. Even 40 don't become kaddish. But the bottom line is, it's a kasha with Chizkiah. Chizkiah says 40 of the 80 become kaddish, even though it's not something that could do b'zeh achazeh, but b'bas achas, Chizkiah seems to say 40 are Kaddish. Itmar Allah, so the Gemara says it's not shver because this was reinterpreted as follows. Lav Itmar Allah, wasn't it explained? Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, Hakol Moedim, everybody agrees. Kol Eichad Amar Kachla Arba Mitoich Shmoinim. If Mark says, let 40 amongst the 80 become Kaddish, so then Kachi, then it's Kaddish, because he was only Mekadosh 40. Lo yikdishu arba melim kein Kachi shmeinim. He says 40 shouldn't be holy unless all 80 are holy. Then everybody holds loy Kachi, because you can't be Mekadosh 80. Loy nechleku ele bestam. What happened is Mark didn't say anything, but he was Mekadosh 80 loaves. Mar Sava, one holds that he only meant to be Mekadosh 40, and the other 40 he wanted it to be Lachrayas as a backup in case something happens to the first 40. Mar Sava Lachrayas Kamachavin. That you could do, you could set aside a backup. Or Mar Sava the carbon gadol Kamachavin. Oh, a carbon gadol, it doesn't work. You can't separate 80. Says the Gemara, V'rava lama leila shnuye kirabba. Why did Rava have to say, you know why you can't be Mekadosh two sisters at the same time? Because something which you can't do one after another, you can't do at the same time. Say, like I said last night at the end of the shir, that it's Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah. Because if you're Mekadosh two sisters, then that you wouldn't be able to sleep with either of them, because they'd be your wife's sister. Tefik like Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah nenu. Says, well, you're right. That is the reason. But Lidvar of the Rami Bar Chama Kamer, he wanted to explain according to the pasuk that Rami Bar Chama quoted. Rami Bar Chama quoted the pasuk of Leisikach Isha Lachoisa Litzra, and we said that pasuk means you shouldn't take one wife, a sister, after you took already one of the sisters. So we said, what does that have to do with our case? Our case is talking about where you do it at the same time. So there we explain, according to Rami Bar Chama, he meant that kol she'enoi b'zeh achazeh afilu b'bas achaz enoi. So now we're going to discuss this question of Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah. An example of this is where it's a dark room, and in it is Rachel and Leah, two sisters, and Marshall is Mekadosh one of them, and he doesn't know which one. So we don't say that he has to give them both a get, because since he doesn't know which one he was Mekadosh, he can't sleep with her. And since he can't sleep with her, it's a Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah, and Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah lo have a Kiddushin. But this is not universal. It's actually a machlokes, Abaye and Rava. Itmar, Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah, Kiddushin that doesn't allow for Biyah. Abaye have a Kiddushin. It's still a Kiddushin. And you need a get. Rava Amalai have a Kiddushin. It's not a Kiddushin. So therefore, if he's Mekadosh in a dark room, one of the two sisters, and he doesn't know which one it is, since he can't sleep with her because it might be his wife's sister, so therefore the Kiddushin is not Chal. So Rava says, how do I know that? I'm a Rava Barahina Asbrali. Barahina explained to me the reason for this halacha, because it says, Ki yikach ish isha u'ba'ala. A man takes a woman and sleeps with her. Kiddushin HaMesur and Labiyah only if he's able to sleep with her have a Kiddushin. Kiddushin She'ein Mesur and Labiyah lo have a Kiddushin. So now the Gemara is going to ask a lot of kashas on Rava. Tanan, HaMekadesh Isha Ubita. We learned in our Mishnah, if he's Mekadesh a woman and her daughter, or Isha V'achaisa, a woman and her sister, Ka'achas at the same time, Einon Mikudeshes. Mashma, only because he did them both at the same time. Ha'achas me Isha Ubita. But if he was Mekadesh one of them, but he doesn't know which one, or a woman and her sister, and he doesn't know which one, Mikudeshes. But Ramai, Kiddushin She'ein Mesur Labiyah, it shouldn't be good, because since he doesn't know which one, he can't sleep with her, because he might be Mikudeshes to the mother, so and the woman that he's taking might be, if he takes one of them, it might be his wife's daughter, or vice versa. So, and yet we say that it implies that it is a good Kiddushin. So to Yufta de Rava, it's a refutation of Rava. Amalach Rava, so Rava says, Uletameich, according to you, Ema Seifa. Maisa b'chamish nashim, there was a Maisa with 5 women, ubahem shtei achayis, and amongst the 5 was Rachel and Leah. V'liked echad kalkala shelteinim, and Marshall collected a basket of figs. It was figs that belonged to the girls themselves, but b'shel shviyas oisa, so it's hefker, so he was allowed to collect it. V'amar, and he said, Ari kulchem mekudeshes li b'kalkala zu, you should all be mekudeshes to me with this basket. V'amar chacham, the chacham say, ein achoyes mekudeshes. The sisters are not engaged, but the other three are. Achoyes udeina mekudeshes, hanachriyas mekudeshes. Now, says Rava, heichi dami, ilema da'amar kulchem kni, you should all be acquired to me. Well, that's a problem, because since the sisters can't be acquired, it would be like saying, it would be like saying, here's this gift to you and the donkey. When you say you're giving a gift to you and the donkey, it doesn't work. At v'chamarhu. V'at v'chamar loikana. So here also, if he's saying all of you, including the sisters, then none of it works, because that's like saying, you three and a donkey. And then none of them would be Mekudesh. So what must be the case, says Rabbi, it must be the case where he said the three of you and one of the sisters. The three of you and one of the sisters. But since we don't know which sister it is, so the sister is not Mekudesh because it's a Kiddush Shem Rasur and Labiyah. The Kitani Ein Achoyis Mekudesh. So that the Sefer is like Rava, but the Reishis is like Abaya. So the Rava Kasha Reisha, according to Rava, it's Shver the Reisha, because it says only the Isha Bita together, but if he said one of them, it seems to be that it would be Kiddushin. While Abaya Kasha Sefer, the end of the Mishnah is Shver. So the Gemara says, Abaya Mataritz L'Tamei and Rava Mataritz L'Tamei. Abaya explains it according to his reasoning, and Rava explains it according to his reasoning. Let's see it inside. Abaya Mataritz L'Tamei. Abaya explains it according to his reasoning. Hamekadish Isha Bita, only the two of them together, or Isha V'Achoisa Ka'achas, if they're together, Einon Mikudashis, because Kol She'ena B'Zeh Achazeh, Afilu B'Bas Achas Einon. If he Mekadosh one, even though he doesn't know which one, or Meisha B'Achaisa Mekadeshes, because he holds Kiddushin She'em Mesur L'Biyah is a good Kiddushin. V'im Amar, if he says Ha'Ru'uya L'Biyah Tiskadishli, if only one was fit that I should be with, should be Mekadeshes to me, ain't a Mekadeshes, because then since he doesn't know which one it is, and it's not fit for Biyah, then it's not Mekadeshes. This is the way Abaya learns the Sefer. With 5 women. And amongst the 5 women are 2 sisters. And Marshall gathers a basket of figs. It was theirs, but it was during Shemitah. Those that are fit to me from you should be Mekudeshes. So there, since he doesn't know which sister he was Mekadesh, so V'amru Chachamim Ein Achoyes Mekudeshes. So that's how Abaya will learn. Rava, who holds Kiddushin She'ena Mesur and L'Biyah Lo Yavi Kiddushin, Rava Mataritz L'Tamei, how is he going to wiggle out of the Reisha as we start the first wide line on Daf Nun Aleph Amud Beis? The Rava Mataritz L'Tamei, Rava explains it according to his reasoning. HaMekadesh Achas Me'isha Obita, if you Mekadesh one of them. Now that Mishnah doesn't say that, but we're going to see how we're going to interpret the Mishnah. If you Mekadesh one of them, but you don't know which one, or Achas Me'isha V'Achais, you don't know whether it was Rachel or Leah, so you can't sleep with them because it might be your wife's sister. Nase Kemi Shekidesh Isha Obita, it's as if you did it at the same time, or Isha V'Achais Achas Me'ena Mekudashis. There was an incident with 5 women, and amongst them were Rachel and Leah. And Marshall gathered a basket of figs, which was theirs, but it was during the Shemitah year. And he said, all of you and one of the 2 sisters, so it's not like At v'Chamar, because he said one of you, all of you and one of the sisters, but since he doesn't know which sister it is, so it's Kiddushin Shem Mitzur and Labia. Mekudeshes li b'kalkalazu. V'amra Chacham, and the Chacham say, Ein achayis mikudeshes. The sisters are not betrothed. Now, I can't believe it's 20 minutes and we're already up to here. Wow. Some kind of a kfitza saderach over here. Wow. It's a little hot in here, right? A little hot in here. Reb Zinger says it's all right. I'm sweating, but Reb Zinger says it's all right. Okay. What?
I'm getting a scarf.
Oh, you have a scarf? Yeah. Now, by the way, who's here from I don't see Berish here tonight, but Gedalia is here, and Avram Schenkman is here, Moshe Jackman is here, I think Reb Kramer is here, or he's not here. My plan is to be back in Fairways tomorrow night. My plan is to be back in Fairways tomorrow night. Gedalia, what time is Mincha tomorrow? Okay, he's not answering. Okay. Tojma, Hamakadesh es bitoy stam. Here we have Chatzku offers his daughter to Marshall. He doesn't say which daughter. So the Gemara says, Eina boigreis bichlal. The girls that are over 12 and a half in one day are not included because he has no rights over them. Ha-kitanas bichlal. But the minor daughters, or the naris, they're included. And they're all mekudeshes to Marshall. But why? Since he doesn't know which one it is, because the father was vague, it's Kiddushin Shein Mesur and Labia. V'amai Kiddushin Shein Mesur and Labia nenu, so utiyufta de Rava. Says Rava, it's only talking about with his two children. One daughter that's a baigris, and one's a smaller daughter. And it's telling you that he's giving the smaller daughter to Marshall. Says the Gemara, Amar Roch Rava, there's only an older daughter and a younger daughter. Says the Gemara, but ha baigris kitani, it says it in the plural. My baigris de alma. It means that adult girls in many such cases. But in this case, it was only one adult girl. Says the Gemara, then what's the chiddush? Obviously, the father is being mekadosh to Marshall, the one that he has control over, the younger daughter. Says the Gemara, no, here it's talking about the older daughter, whose name is Tzippi. The older daughter said to the father that he should be a shliach to marry her off. Oh, so I might think that he's marrying off the older daughter to Marshall. Maybe he took the money from Marshall for the older daughter. Kamash Malan, the money for the older daughter would go to the daughter. So he's not going to forsake the money that he keeps for the younger daughter and do it for the older daughter. He doesn't forsake the younger daughter. He gets to keep the big money that Marshall gives him. Says Gemara, well, Milay Askina isn't even talking about where the daughter said, Ta, you pick for me and you keep the money. Milay Askina the Amrle Kiddushe Lididach. You could keep the money. So then if he said you could keep the money, how do you know that he wasn't being Mekadosh Marshall for the older daughter? Says the Gemara, since he doesn't have a mitzvah to marry off his younger daughter, older daughter, he has a mitzvah to marry off his younger daughter, a bigger mitzvah to marry off his younger daughter who's under his control. A mitzvah that's put on him because she's younger. So even if he would get the money from both, he's going to marry off the younger daughter to Marshall. Tajma. So now we're going to have multiple choice. In this case, what happened is Romeo, Marshal Romeo, is married to two wives. He's married to Sarah and Dinah. And from Sarah, he has two girls, an older one and a younger one. And from Dinah, his younger wife, so Sarah is the older wife, and Dinah is the younger wife. So from Sarah, the older wife, he has two girls, an older one and a younger one. And from Dinah, he has two girls, an older one and a younger one. So now, listen to what Marshall does over here. Tajma, mi sheyesh lo shtei kitei banos mishtei nashim. He has two sets of daughters from two wives. Two daughters from Sarah, the older wife, and two daughters from Dinah, the younger wife. The Amar Kidashti es biti, I betrothed my daughter to Chatzkel, Hagedayla. Which daughter? The older daughter. Oh boy. But we don't know what older means over here. Is it the older daughter from the older wife, or the older daughter from the younger wife? Or is the younger daughter from the older wife that's older than all the daughters from the younger wife? That's a real tongue twister. Let's see that inside. Let's see it inside. Ve'eni yodeya, I don't know, im gedoyla shebigdoylas. Does it mean the older daughter from the older wife? Shh. Does it mean the older daughter from the...
Every time he picks on me, it freezes. It's amazing.
Uh-oh, I froze again. Same thing from last night.
People. There's even a woman who gives a shit. It was like on Yavamas, I was just curious.
All right, Rabbi Kranz, I'm back.
Shot, but I was kind of like
Rabbi Kranz, I'm back.
So it says that the Rav is back to being host.
Yeah, I'm back.
You're back. Okay.
What took you so long?
I was waiting till Rabbi Kranz finished about the woman.
I can hear some of those cases being explained by a woman.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. All right. So, Marshall, could you try not to make so much trouble?
I'll never be successful, I'm sorry.
Okay. That's it. You just muted yourself. That's the way to do it. Now, so again over here, what Marshall did is he said he was being Mekadesh, the older daughter, to Chatzkel. And the Gemara says over here, but is it the older daughter from the older wife Sarah, or the older daughter from the younger wife Dinah? Or is it the younger daughter of Sarah, who's older even from the older daughter of Dinah? Everybody is asur. Everybody that has a tzad of being older needs to get a suffix get, except for Dinah's youngest child. Because Dinah's youngest child is not older in any way. Divrei Rameir. So we see over here that even though we don't know which one it is, so it's Kiddushin Shein Mesur and Labiyah, because if you don't know which daughter, you can't sleep with any of them, yet we say you need a get. Says the Gemara, we did know which one he meant, and then afterwards it got confused. In other words, he did specify at what point which Gedolah he meant, but then they forgot. So since they don't know now, so therefore you have to give a get to all of them. Dekanami, the Ketani Eini Yodea, now we don't know. Like Ketani Eini Yodua, it was not known. Originally it was known which one, and then it got forgotten. Shmamina. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, then Maila Memra. If we knew originally, and now we don't, of course everybody needs a get. Says the Gemara, Lafuke mid Rabbi Yosi, the Amar loy mochis inish nafsei l'sveika. When a person says something, he will never use a ambiguous statement. And therefore, when he said Gedolah, according to Rabbi Yosi, it must mean the Gedolah shebegdolah, Sarah's oldest daughter. And Kamash Malon, we don't say like Rabbi Yosi, Kamash Malon, the mochis inish nafsei l'sveika, that a person will say an ambiguous statement. Tajma. Okay, so till now it was pretty good. Now we're going to have a little Yavamis because Mark said he's tired of these easy Gemaras. I know. Mark, if anybody wants to know whose fault it is, Mark says, we're not wimps. It's Sukkos. Give us some meat. Right? Ain't Simcha L'Babasar. So he says, where's the beef? So Mark,
this shooting squad, quick.
So Mark, this one's for you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Yeah, and by the way, Marshall, I wouldn't shoot you on Yom Tov. Don't worry.
Sure, Rabbi, good morning.
What do you say, Irving?
I said, Shkayach, good morning.
Oh, you have to leave?
I'm very tired. I gotta go to sleep.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost finished. Yeah.
I understand, but I'm exhausted.
Irving? It's so wonderful to have you here. My wife, I showed my wife all the comments on our Zoom chat, and she says, what a wonderful family the Daf is, everybody loves everybody, mostly.
Cut that out!
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Tajma, Mi shekidesh achas mishtei achoyis. What happened over here is Reuven was Mekadesh one of Rachel or Leah. But Reuven is a space cadet. Ve'eni yodeya eizer kiddush. He doesn't know which one he was Mekadesh. Noisin get lezu v'get lezu. He gives a get to each one. But according to Rava, why does he have to give a get to, since he doesn't know it's Kiddushin Shein Mesur and Labiyah, it shouldn't be anything. Says the Gemara, Hachabamayaskinan, Kishahukru, Ulabasayf Nisarvo. Initially, he knew which one. And then he forgot. So since initially he knew which one at the time of the Kiddushin, he knew it whether it was Rachel or Leah. Then he forgot. So now he has to give a get to both of them. So the Gemara says, then, and Dekanami, the Ketani Eini Yodea, he doesn't know now, but like Ketani Eini Yodua, it wasn't known from the inception. But then the Gemara says, duh, then of course he has to give a get to each one. What's the Chiddush? Says the Gemara, the Chiddush is Seifa Itzrichale. The Chiddush is in the Seifa. Meis, if Reuven dies, V'loi ach echad, and he has one brother, Shimon, so now Rachel and Leah both fall to Shimon Leibim. Only one was married, but we don't know which one. So chalitz l'shtein. So he gives chalitza to each one. Because one of them is his sister-in-law whose husband died childless. Hayaloi shnayim. If Reuven had two brothers, Shimon and Levi, so echad chalitz, Shimon could give chalitza to Rachel, the echad miyabim, and then Levi could Mamanavshach marry Leah. If Leah was the one that was married to Reuven, then he's Mekayim Yibam. If Rachel was the one, so then he could marry Leah Stamazai. It's no problem. Im Kodmu v'Kansu, if he went ahead and the first one, Shimon, was Miyabim. Now really he shouldn't have been Miyabim, because maybe he's Miyabim Rachel, and maybe Leah was the one that was married to Ruvain. So he's marrying Achos Zukukasik, the sister of Zukuka. But in Kadma v'Kansu, and then Levi gives Chalitza to the other one, Ein Moitzinai Sam Miyad. Even though he was over in Issa Rabbanan, we don't take him away. But Dafka v'Chatchila Dafka Michlitz v'Adu Yevume. First, Shimon should give Chalitza to Rachel, and then Levi could be Miyabim Leah. Aval Yevume v'Adu Michlitz, but that Shimon should be Miyabim one of them, and then Levi Michlitz the other one. No, because if Shimon is Miyabim the wrong one, then he's being Miyabim Achos Kukasi, the sister of the one that sucked them, which he's not allowed to do. Like the Kapaga Achos Kukasi. Now hang in there, Rabbi. Say we have one more case. One more case. Tojma. We're upping the ante a little bit since, again, Mark wanted it. You could send letters to Mark if you want, but he was busy with his mother one night, so he felt he was, missing a little schus Torah, so he wanted to up the ante. I don't blame you. Elliot Udell, a good maid. It's good to have you, even at the last part of the share. Now, Tajma. Shnayim shekitchu shtei achoyes. Here we have a case where Ruvain was Mekadesh, one of Rachel and Leah, and Moshe was Mekadesh, the other one. And Zayin Yodei is a Kiddush. Ruvain doesn't know which one he was Mekadesh. V'Zayin Yodei is a Kiddush. And Moshe doesn't know which one he was Mekadesh. Zen Noisin Shnei Gitin. Ruvain has to give get to Rachel and Leah. V'Zen Noisin Shnei Gitin. Now, if it's literally the way it is, if it's, as we welcome in Yehuda from Yerushalayim, if it's literally the way it is, so according to Rava, you shouldn't have to give a get to anybody because it's Kiddushin Shem Misur and Labiyah. Says the Gemara, Hachanami Shehukru L'B'Seif Nisarvu. Initially, Ruvain knew which one he married, and Moshe knew which one they married, and it got mixed up. And they kanami diktani eini yodeya, they didn't know. Well, like kitani eini yodu, it wasn't known from the beginning. Shmamina. So, but again, if it's a case where Ruvain doesn't know which one and Moshe doesn't know which one, obviously you have to give a get. What's the chiddush? So again, we're going to go into Yibam again. Seifa it's trichalei. Mace, if both Ruvain and Moshe die, ulezeach, and Ruvain has a brother Shimon, and Moshe has a brother Aaron, zeh chaylitz l'shtein, so Ruvain gives a chalitza to both of the women, v'zeh chaylitz l'shtein, and Aaron gives a chalitza to both of them. That's easy. But let's say l'zeh echad u'l'zeh shnayim. Moshe has one brother Aaron, but Ruvain has two brothers, Shimon and Levi. So in this case, as we start the top of Nun Beis, Amud Aleph, Nun Beis, by the way, B'gematria is B'gematria Bakol, so we're zeichet to everything with these exciting pieces of Gemara. Says the Gemara, so ha'echad chalitz l'shtein. Aaron gives chalitza to both Rachel and Leah. V'ashnayim, Shimon and Levi, echad chalitz. Shimon gives chalitza to one of them. The echad miyabim, and then Levi could be miyabim the other, because mamanav shach. If it's Taka Ruvain's wife, so then he's mekayim the mitzvah of yibam. If it's Moshe's wife, well, Aaron already gave her chalitza, so there's no issur of loisiyah eshes hameisa chutz lishzar, so he can marry her. Im kodmu v'kansu, in the event that after Aaron gave chalitza, Shimon and Levi were both miyabim, the two girls, even though Shimon shouldn't have been miyabim, because it might be achoyse kukasei, like we explained, im kadmu v'kansu ein moitzi and son miyadim. We don't separate them. But dafka michlatz v'hadu yebume. But you could only have Aaron give them chalitza, and then afterwards Shimon and Levi are miyabim. Or Shimon gives chalitza and Levi is miyabim. But you can't have Shimon and Levi or Levi do Yibam first. Why? Because maybe it was Moshe's wife, and if he's miyabim her before Aaron gives chalitza, he's being over the lav of she needs to receive chalitza first from Aaron. Then you're being over Yavam Lashuk. We stop over here, and we're going to learn the Mishnah Yomis now.